The biggest game in the career of Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. This is going to be a good one here. Going up against the red-hot Colts and Jonathan Taylor. I don't know who can stop this guy, man. Can it be the Cardinals today? I don't know, man.
Probably not. Of all defenses to go up against, you have to go up against. So they're pretty good at allowing touchdowns to running backs, but the Cardinals give up 12.9 yards per carry.
Yeah. It might not be pretty, but if I was the Cardinals defensive coordinator, I would stack that box and just rely on your good corners and your good secondary to make Carson Wentz beat you. That's what you would do, but I still don't think it matters. The one thing that we have to talk about here, though, is some injuries on the offensive line for the Colts that could change a lot. You got 2 Pro Bowlers potentially missing today. That's a huge deal. Welcome to the show, guys. The Edge DFS Christmas night showdown. Colts at the Cardinals, Week 16. This is a big game when it comes to the playoffs. If the Cardinals lose this game, it's not looking good for them. They might sneak in with a wild card, but they're just not looking good so far. They lost to the Lions last week. Craig Reynolds, who had over 100 yards rushing against them. They lost the week before to the Rams. Injury-ridden, of course, but they're starting to get a little bit healthier minus Hopkins. So who can step up for the Cardinals from the wide receivers? We're going to talk a lot about that. Before we move on, help us out, guys. We are, 60 subscribers from our 500 subscriber goal. Help us out. I know there's 60 people watching right now that aren't subscribed. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. Hit the like button. We really appreciate it. Let's get right into this, man. Let's look at this line here. We're not going to mess around on this show. We're going to spend some time, but we're going to spend a lot of time building. So, Colts visiting, headed into Phoenix or Glendale. They're 2.5-point favorites. Cardinals are at home. 48.5-point total. Ownership is close. I actually thought that the Colts would be favored here, and I actually expected that. The line moved a little bit from what I think the Cardinals started out 1.5-point favorites or something like that, and the line has moved towards the Cardinals, which is interesting. That means the public is a little bit higher on the Cardinals than I think they should be almost. So thoughts on this, man? Does Arizona have a chance here? I think they have to just get back to their old ways here. They have to find a way to stop the run. What are your thoughts on this game, generally speaking?
So I'm going to try and filter my bias as an Arizona Cardinals fan. And just so everyone's aware, usually we're more pessimistic for our teams because we don't win shit. The Cardinals are the oldest franchise in the history of sports without a championship. So when we're talking about this, we may have a little bit of recency bias from time to time, but our bias is mostly negative towards Arizona teams. So
That's true.
That said, take a step back. They're still a 10-4 team. They didn't get here by chance. And in week 1, I understand they had J.J. Watt and a massive performance from Chandler Jones, but they held Derrick Henry to under 100 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And, you just got embarrassed, and there's no other way to put it. You just got embarrassed by the worst team in the NFL. So if this is an actual good team, and I really do think they are better than what we thought they were, this is an opportunity to come out and really show the league that you had your wake-up call and you're ready to go. So I think this game is really going to come down to what else can Indy do outside of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Right. That's what everyone's expecting. Vance Joseph knows that he's going to go balls out and stop the run. I definitely think that this is a Cardinals win tonight. I think this is a game that they absolutely have to win and have a pretty good chance to win. I think Kyler's taken some negative heat lately, and I think it's undeserved. He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. He doesn't have a playoff win, but you want your team to be better. You should be pissed off, and you should have that. I mean, you're down by 25 points. I get it. He's not going to lead a 25-point comeback. So having that attitude in the fourth quarter, maybe that's enough to get this team fired up. Yeah. But anyways, we're trying to get into this quick. I don't want to waste everyone's Christmas. Listen to me rant about the Cardinals. We can do that on another show. So I'll hand it back to you, dude.
All right, injuries. Look, man, I agree with you. I think this is a Cardinals win tonight. They're at home, and I think that stadium is going to be popping, hopefully. Hopefully this crowd isn't as pessimistic as a lot of the fans are. Hopefully they come out loud.
I mean, at least it's not like a Cowboys game where it's going to be filled with Cowboys fans.
There's not going to be any Colts
Why
fans.
would there be Colts fans out there?
Exactly. Maybe like 10% of the crowd. There's just they probably don't travel very well either. All right, so obviously D-Hop is out. We know that. James Conner he is questionable, and he's a game time decision, but it looks like, based on reports, that he's expected to play. So that's good news. And the biggest question here is Rondale Moore. He's questionable with an ankle injury, and I think that's a big deal in this particular game. They're already short D-Hop. They're starting to grab at guys like Andy Isabella and Antoine Wesley. That's not a good situation to be in. So if Rondale Moore is out, there's going to be some value to talk about here. And we'll talk about both sides of that here. And if he plays, I think he's a good option as well. Now, when it comes to the Colts, there's really no one from fantasy-wise that you would be worried about playing or not playing. But we do have to talk about Quentin Nelson on the COVID list. I don't know if he'll be activated. Last I checked, he hasn't been. He could play last minute. I don't know. You know, the COVID list stuff is moving so fast. Just keep an eye on it. But it looks like he's not playing. And we also have center Ryan Kelly. Both of these guys are Pro Bowlers. Ryan Kelly is out. He's dealing with the death in the family, I think, of his daughter. That's pretty tragic. But he is out for this. So we have two Pro Bowlers on the offensive line missing for a team that is based upon running the ball with the best running back in the NFL right now. I think that it makes me think that I could actually fade Jonathan Taylor in a couple lineups and not be too scared, because he's just going to be so high owned. I mean, do you think he's going to come in at 90+% owned this week?
Yeah, he probably should be. I'm with you though. So I don't want to understate this at all, but Quentin Nelson is probably top 2 guards in the NFL. Yeah. And I don't know if he's number 2. So this is a big deal. It's not like you're losing just some piece of your offensive line. Even that would be huge. You're losing one of the best guards in the entire league. Yes. And Ryan Kelly, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. So is Quentin Nelson. Well, anyways, look, it doesn't matter. But Ryan Kelly is also one of the better centers in the league. So I that's a lot. And I understand J.J. Watt is still out. But who do we have? What's his name? Allen. Josh Allen.
Zach Allen.
Zach Allen. Yeah, not Josh Allen. Jesus. Zach Allen, bro. He's been playing some DT and he's been doing pretty well there. So I definitely think that there's some opportunity there. And, you know, it's easy leverage. If you're playing 20 lineups, fade Jonathan Taylor in 2, right? You're still with the field at 90%. But you could be fine doing that. Now, when we get to the roster construction, there's a couple things I've been doing on these new slates or these other slates with like Antonio Gibson, the running backs that we've been seeing, that I think it'll be nice here. I think a 1-5 is going to be a really unique way to build and not have to fade Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. So I'll let it go.
Because besides Jonathan Taylor, there's no one I really absolutely want to have. I mean, right. Michael Pittman Jr. has struggled lately, and his price is down. I'm interested in him, especially at captain and, obviously in the flex. But there's really nobody else on this team that I'm like, man, I have to get some guys from the Colts besides Jonathan Taylor. And there's a lot of guys on the Cardinals that I'm definitely interested in getting. So you're right. I think a 2-4 or 1-5 even when it comes to Colts and the captain, and then throw in 4 or 5 Cardinals, that could be a good option this week. All right, let's get into the breakdown. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
No, perfect. Because what I was going to say is going to be on the quarterback. So I think it's a good transition into the breakdown.
Yeah. I mean, Carson Wentz, come on now. Break it down. All right, we're getting into this. Kyler Murray is 11.4K. Carson Wentz is low priced, 9,600. Makes him very appealing, as much as Carson Wentz could possibly be appealing. He hasn't looked too hot lately. And like I said in the opening, if you're the Cardinals, if you're Vance Joseph, you want Carson Wentz to beat you. You're going to do everything you can to stop Jonathan Taylor. And if Carson Wentz beats you, then he beats you. So talk to me, Ellie. Break this down here. 11.4K for Kyler Murray. That's a good price for him. The last time we talked about this, I had Kyler Murray in every game, in every single lineup. and he sucked ass. But I don't know. He's the kind of guy that can break a slate with his legs and his arm.
Yeah, I'm not fading Kyler. I'm gonna have a lot of him. There's no DeAndre Hopkins, so if there's a guy that's gonna break the slate, or if there's a guy that you just need to have from the Cardinals, it's gonna be him. He may not pass for 350 yards, but he can get there on 120 passing yards. I mean, look, 3 weeks ago, right? I mean, he had 383 against the Rams. So again, there's all kinds of different ways that he can get there, and don't overthink it. Play Kyler Murray as much as you can. You can probably even run 1-5 stacks, throw him in at captain, and run back with 5 Colts.
Yeah,
be interesting as hell. So I love it. Now,
before you get to Carson, let me point this out. Kyler's captain ownership is going to be cut in half what it usually is. He might be 9% owned.
Everyone's going to be on JTT.
That's just way too low for him. So I would actually rather go a little bit under the field on JTT at captain and just jam Kyler at captain because you're getting so much leverage. Typically speaking, we don't want to have too much Kyler at captain because he's usually the highest owned guy, but not this week, not even close.
So Carson Wentz, right? I like his price, and I think that he's going to be appealing because of that price. But I think that there's going to be a little bit of recency bias in what Jared Goff did to the Cardinals defense.
Yeah.
Now their success came off of those hard play actions because obviously the play action was running really well. But there's also a factor that can't be quantified. Jared Goff was a part of the Sean McVay teams that dominated the Cardinals for the past 25 years.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, the only thing that's changed so far, right, is they traded away Jared Goff, and now we split this season series. So maybe Jared Goff just has the Cardinals number too.
Yeah, maybe.
So there is something to think about there. And Carson Wentz doesn't have the same experience that Goff does playing against the Cardinals personnel and their coaching staff. But that said, he does have rushing upside. Cardinals rush defense sucks. If he gets you one rushing touchdown, you're probably going to need him for the optimal.
Yeah.
I think maybe being even with the field's the way to go. I think you can go slightly under the field and really just get Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and kind of focus in on those guys as the core targets.
Yeah. And roster construction wise, you could hedge a little bit when you are fading Jonathan Taylor, if you choose to do that in a few lineups. Plug Carson Wentz in there because most likely Carson Wentz is probably going to pick up any of that slack if for some reason Jonathan Taylor does not have like a normal typical game that we usually see from him. All right, anything else to talk about here?
No.
All right, let's start with Arizona running backs here. So James Conner, like I said, he's banged up. One of the league leaders in touchdowns this year. The guy just finds a way to find the end zone. He's a Pro Bowler, but he's hurt. So one thing we got to talk about here, I mean, he's 12.2K, and you've got Chase Edmonds, who's now healthy, who we all kind of forgot about. Chase Edmonds was a starting running back to start the year. He doesn't have that knack for the end zone. He hasn't really had a good fantasy season, obviously, but Chase Edmonds 3K. I like Chase Edmonds in this game. I mean, if Connor could come out and just not be feeling right, or he could come out and score 2 touchdowns. I think you have to get both of these guys healthily in your lineups. And here's the problem is James Conner is going to be under 25% owned. He's a great captain option just because of that injury tag. So thoughts on these two guys? It could go either way, but I think you got to spread yourself out and get a little bit of both of these guys, or maybe more than a little bit.
Yeah, so I really just have a couple comments here. I don't think you need James Conner in captain position this week. It was different when Edmonds was out. He was getting the work and the touchdowns. I think we're going to start with his questionable tag and what he's going through. I think that they're going to kind of go back to that goal line type offense where they use him just as a power back when they need him, and they're going to split carries again. Chase Edmonds at 3K is just, that's probably a bad price. He should be 5-6K just because of what he will get in the offense. So I'm going to have a lot of Chase. The other thing I'm interested in here is, again, we don't have DeAndre Hopkins, right? So you don't have that really high price guy to pay up for. So in those 1-5 stacks where you got Taylor at captain, it might be Kyler, Connor, Edmonds, Wesley even, and then a guy like Ertz or something to kind of round it out. Yeah. So this is a game that I'm interested in handcuffing just because the price on Edmonds is so low.
We've seen Connor have some work in the pass game too. We've seen 2 amazing one-handed catches from him. I'm not afraid to stack Kyler and him together. Typically speaking, we showdown. There's no rules, but if you have a high price running back and your high price quarterback, maybe you kind of pick one or the other. I don't think you need to do that this week because I think James Conner can still be active in that pass game, and same with Chase Edmonds. I think this is going to be Chase Edmonds' opportunity this week to kind of get a lot more run than we're typically used to seeing. Because look, this team is most likely going to make the playoffs. They have a 99% chance of making the playoffs. You don't want James Conner to be absolutely injured going into the playoffs. So maybe they kind of ease up on him a little bit since he was considered a game time decision. Chase Edmonds, and look, God forbid if Conner is out for some reason, if he somehow isn't feeling good or he steps backwards somehow. Edmonds is a lock, obviously at 3K, but I think Conner will play. So I don't think you have to quite worry about that, but just keep an eye on that. All right.
One last thing before we move on. I actually don't mind Chase Edmonds as a random captain dart.
Yes. I was this close to putting him in the graphics for my captain choice, but it's just too crazy of a choice. I didn't want people to go too crazy with him, but it is a good option. All right. So Indy, look, there's a little bit to talk about here because you got a guy like Nyheim Hines who can always score a touchdown. He's 4,600. You got Jonathan Taylor-Thomas at 12K. There's nothing to talk about with him. He's balling. You fade him at your own risk, but I think there is some leverage to be had there. At 4,600, Nyheim Hines is a nice additional option. You can handcuff both of these teams. If you were to say that you had 3 running backs in your lineup this week, I don't think that that's wrong. Do you?
No, not at all. I honestly, that's a staple of my 2-4 stacks, especially when I'm running the Colts. I don't mind Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and then 4 other whoever they're playing against. I think Hines had a touchdown last week too. So they're vulturing stuff from other players. I don't know, man. I like both these guys. I think you can probably run 4 running backs today and not be too crazy.
Yeah.
So, I think we'll have to just build to get there. The only thing that's going to keep me off Hines a little bit is just the pricing on Edmonds. That $1,600 savings may be enough for us to do pretty much whatever we want. So we'll have to see when we get to the build.
I think Edmonds gets more of a run than Hines too. So you're right. I think instead of paying up for Nyheim Hines in some lineups, you just go down to Edmonds. But look at this, Jonathan Taylor. Look, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. We know how good this guy is. But look at these numbers. This is like LaDainian Tomlinson. This is like Marshall Faulk. This is like some of the best fantasy output we've almost ever seen. You know what I mean? This is incredible. But look, there's a situation where the guy comes out and gets you 15 fantasy points. Now, it's not likely to happen, but if he comes out and gets you 15 fantasy points at 12K as the highest owned guy, and this is a 50-plus total game, he might not make the optimal at that price tag. So that's why I bring it up. It's not something I'm going to do a lot of, but you got to think about it in every single lineup. You got to think about maybe sitting him out in 1 or 2 of them. All right. So let's go to wide receivers. Go ahead and break this down, Ellie, for the Colts.
Yeah, man. I like Michael Pittman at 7,200. He's going to get a bulk of the load. Other than that, I'm really not too high on any of these other guys. Again, we're just seeing too much reliance on Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to be prioritizing him into all my lineups. I think grabbing Carson Wentz and a pass catcher is a good way to get different if you're fading Jonathan Taylor. But I don't know that this is a great spot for TY or Zach Pascal or even Doolin at his price. Everyone's kind of just priced mediocre here. And if, say, you go down from Hines to Edmonds, you should be able to go up from Hilton to Pittman. So I'm going to prioritize Pittman. I'm going to prioritize Taylor and then Wentz. Those are really the 3 guys that I'm looking at from this offense. Maybe a little bit of tight end exposure, but even then, there's just better plays throughout that I don't know if I'm getting the Hilton, Pascal, and then for sure not Doolin.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Pittman is underpriced just because of recency bias. He hasn't looked great, but we know what his ceiling is. We know he can catch you 2 touchdowns and get you, 10 receptions. We've seen it done. So, Michael Pittman and a Wentz lineup, or even just a Michael Pittman lineup, especially a captain too, you got to consider him at 7,200. You can jam in all the studs for sure. Doolin is a good option. I think didn't he have a touchdown? He had a touchdown 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. Doolin is a good option, but he's a straight up punt. Like you're going to get 0 from him, or you might get a touchdown. But at 2,200, it's worth considering. All right, let's go to the other side here, Arizona. So we got Christian Kirk at 9K. I don't think I never expected to see Christian Kirk at 9K ever, but here we are. He is definitely a sprinkled in captain option, and if you're stacking Kyler with his pass catchers, you're going to want to consider Kirk, as well as AJ Green. I think Kirk has a higher upside and a higher floor. AJ Green is very risky, in my opinion, at 7K. And then you got Rondale Moore, 6,400. Antoine Wesley, who is a good option, especially if Rondale Moore is out. I think Rondale Moore is out, Antoine Wesley gets a huge boost. And then there's Andy Isabella, which we haven't said his name in freaking forever. But he should be active, and especially if Rondale Moore is out, I think Andy Isabella gets 25 to 35% of the snaps. And at 600, you got to consider him maybe getting a couple catches. So talk to me, Ellie, here. Thoughts on Wesley, and who do we prioritize between Kirk and Green, and can you play both of them together?
Yeah, you can play Kirk and Green together. I think you can prioritize them. Kirk, Green. Kirk obviously is going to get the share of the targets, the largest share. You got 12 last week, so I don't anticipate that really going down. So he really is just kind of the safer floor play. He's probably going to have a little bit higher ceiling as well than AJ Green. So I think Kirk is just a little bit better play. But I do want to say something about AJ Green. We don't know what his ceiling is. He's obviously had a few struggles in the offense. He's still getting kind of used to it, getting a feel for it, and I think he's getting a feel for getting his body back. He's 1.5 seasons removed from his injury, and he wasn't utilized much at all last year. So, I think that impacts our ability to see what's going on with him. And it's 7K and him projected to be well under 20% ownership. I don't mind it. He's going to start getting those possession targets that we would see DeAndre Hopkins get. Mm-hmm. He's a physical. I mean, he's a freak, dude. He was one of the best wide receivers in the game 3-4 years ago. So I definitely think that there's an opportunity for him to just sneak by everybody just because of the obvious value we have so far. And maybe you have the salary to pay up for Christian Kirk. So, he's just too well priced for me, too low owned. I'm going to have a decent amount of AJ Green. I'll probably be close to double the field.
Yeah. What about Moore? If he plays, are you interested?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Moore is more of a captain play for me. He's an explosive guy. So he had -1 air yards last week, by the way. That's what he does. He's going to get yak. He's going to get these explosive plays.
He's an additional running back, basically.
Yeah, if you're going to play him, you need to put him in the captain spot because he's going to get those explosive plays. Otherwise, he's not going to pay off the 6,400 in the flex. But I'm with you, dude. I love Antoine Wesley, regardless of whether or not Rondale Moore plays. We saw him get a goal line target in place of DeAndre Hopkins, which was shocking to me when you have Kirk and AJ Green on the field and Zach Ertz. But he's going to give you a lot of salary. And I also don't mind taking stabs on $600 Andy Isabella. Again, he's a big play guy. $600. He just needs to catch one up the seam and take it to the house.
Yeah.
So
we saw that on a Halloween game like 2 years ago against San Francisco, where you just had one big play. That's all you need. Antoine Wesley had 85% of the snaps last week. That's with Rondale Moore going out later in that game. So even if Rondale Moore does play, I think you have to try to prioritize getting some Wesley. And with the Cardinals wide receivers, this is going to be that Da Vinci code that if you can crack, you're going to win some money, because I personally want to pair Kyler and at least 2 of his pass catchers in every lineup. There's just no way that this team wins or even stays relevant in this game if these guys don't score points. I'm including obviously the tight ends. I'm including maybe even Chase Edmonds in that. But yeah, I think you have to really focus on these wide receivers here. I think this is a way better group than the group that we saw before. All right, let's go to tight ends here. So there's really no one to talk about here. I mean, Zach Ertz, 8K. He's a goal line threat. He yards after catch guy too. He could get 8+ targets. 8K is a little high for him, but hey, he's Zach Ertz. What can you expect? So are you dealing with Daniels and any of these other guys?
Nope. I'm going to play a shitload of Ertz, and I'm not going to worry about Harris or Daryl Daniels. Dude, Ertz is still one of the best tight ends in the league. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
And you can't convince me otherwise. Like, what? You got Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, and then what? So
he's
Ertz
a
has
top
the
10.
opportunity.
I think he's a top 10. And I think
he's top 8, bro.
I still think he's better than Goddard at this point in his career.
Yeah. Oh, well, he also has a better quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. So, Zach Ertz, revenge against his old quarterback here.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's move on. I think captain for him and just in general, I mean, he's going to be under 30% owned, which is criminal just because there's so many good players in this game. You're going to have to fade somebody. And I think it falls on the Cardinals pass catchers. That's where you're going to see that ownership fall off for whatever reason. All right, let's go to Indy for tight ends. This is going to be interesting here because you got a guy like Jack Doyle at 1,600. He's usually around that price tag. But Mo Alley Cox, we saw him go up, in the $6,000 range at one point this year. He was the kind of guy that could break a slate and could score 2 touchdowns. Now he's all the way down to $400, man. Back when Mo Alley Cox was high priced, I wouldn't touch him. But now he's $400. And look, he's sucked ass recently. He hasn't done anything since week 7. I get it. So for whatever reason, he's not getting involved in the offense. But
it's because they can rush the ball 72 times.
Because they can rush the ball with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, man. Like around this time is when JT, when he started going crazy. Right around this week 7, week 8, So I think there's some correlation there. But I still think that Mo Alley Cox at $400 is a good dart throw. Do you agree?
Yeah. Play Doyle, play Mo Alley Cox. I mean, between these two, Wesley and Chase Edmonds, I don't think we're going to have any issues building today.
And when you see us build, these are the guys that we stick in last. Where we rotate them all out. Where we just put in Jack Doyle as the last spot, then we take him out and put in Mo Alley Cox as the last spot. You got to try to. I think you got to try to be above the field because they're going to be 10% or less. And I think that's a little bit too low owned for them. And look, we're talking about the Cardinals. I know that they haven't done too bad against tight ends recently. They've sort of gotten rid of that stigma. But it's still the freaking Arizona Cardinals. You just kind of play tight ends against them. That's just kind of what we do.
Yeah.
All right, so kickers. We are in a dome. Good weather. Two good defenses here. And teams that, especially like the Cardinals, kind of struggle to punch it in the red zone sometimes. So you got to kind of think about Prater, who can get you 2 field goal attempts. He can get you 10 fantasy points. So you got to kind of think about both of these guys. They're going to be less than 20% owned, both of them. Badgley is not one of my favorite guys, but I don't know. Thoughts on these two guys? 4,200, 4,400. Do we like them more or less than usual?
I think they're both in play. We're not going to do the whole not look high on kickers today. I think I'm going to be maybe even a little bit over the field. I think one of these guys will have the opportunity to be in the optimal. It's going to be a competitive game. So I definitely think that we're going to see people taking points when they should.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
That opens up to field goals.
Yeah, I really don't see a lot of like 4th and 2 from the 42-yard line going for it as much as usual, but we'll see. Colts 3,400, Cardinals defense 3,600. Both of these teams have good defenses. When you look at the defense for the Colts, they have 31 takeaways this year. That's first in the NFL. They have 2+ takeaways in 11 of the 14 games they played this year. Colts are definitely in play. But when you look at the other side of the Cardinals offense, they're 5th in turnovers. They only have 14 this season. So they're pretty efficient. They're not going to make a ton of mistakes, although we've seen lately they haven't been looking too great. So I think you got to consider both of them.
Most of I think all but 3 turnovers are at home. So that is another thing to think
Cardinals
about.
are a better
I don't
road
think
team.
they're going to play that poorly at home again, though. They've lost 3 games at home.
No way. Look, the Colts' rush defense is 22nd yards per carry, and they give up about 110 yards per game on the ground. They're not the best, rush defense. So boost to Connor, boost to Edmonds. All right, let's go to our fades. There's really nothing to talk about here, guys. I apologize. We're not going to lie to you. Like, I'm not going to come out here and say, we're not trying to get views by just making you. I'm not gonna come out here and say Jonathan Taylor's my fade, or like we don't feel comfortable fading anybody in this game. I think they're all priced well. I think you have to get, if you're doing multiple lineups, you got to get a little bit of everybody. There's not somebody that jumps out on paper to me that you have to fade. Do you agree with that, Ellie?
Yeah, I agree. And that's why roster construction is important. If you're running a 1-5, like that's going to be a low-owned lineup. I mean, it's going to be. Yeah. So you can do that instead of fading someone to get different.
All right, we're crowning their ass.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Ellie, Jonathan Taylor, obviously, that's what everybody else thinks, but there's no reason to get too fancy, I think, on this slate.
Yeah.
You go Kyler, you go Jonathan Taylor, and you go from there. You start with those guys, and then you kind of sprinkle in the other guys. The only reason I'm putting Ertz up here is because I wanted to give you guys another option if you wanted to go low-owned. I think Ertz is a good option at tight end at his price and at his ownership. So what are some of the other guys that you feel comfortable playing with your portfolio lineups tonight? Where are you going to go?
I might have a little bit of Pittman, maybe one or two with Chase Edmonds, and then I think Kyler Murray. I think I'm going to stick primarily JT, Kyler, and then go down to Zach Ertz, Pittman, maybe even like AJ Green or Christian Kirk. I really don't hate any of those plays at captain. One of these guys, it's just hard because Jonathan Taylor Thomas could easily have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, and Christian Kirk has 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, he'll be the optimal captain.
My bold take is that Jonathan Taylor will have less than 20 fantasy points, and if he ends up scoring 50, I'm an idiot. But I'm giving a bold take here. I think he'll have less than 20 this week. I just have a gut feeling. I don't know why. And when it comes to me, I'm going to be doing about 200 plus lineups. We'll see where I'm at when I'm actually start building. But I'm going to end up with mostly Kyler, then JT, and then I'll sprinkle in probably 10 to 15% of each of the other options that we talked about. All right, so let's get into this lineup build. RG has dark mode for us, which is taking me some time to get used to, but here we are. All right, so let's optimize and see what happens. Kyler at captain, Antoine Wesley, Chase Edmonds, Pittman, Wentz, and Taylor. So 3-3. This is a balanced lineup.
A really good lineup.
I actually like it a lot. This could be a great single entry lineup / cash lineup. I might end up playing it. All right, so let's do a Jonathan Taylor lineup that we want to enter in tournaments that's not going to be duped by a million freaking people.
So, yeah, go Kyler. Let's go AJ Green, Antoine Wesley, Chase Edmonds.
9.6K. That's a lot.
That gives us,
Carson Wentz.
So if you want, you can throw in Carson Wentz. I actually like that a lot.
Or you could go up from Green to... Here, look, this is a good lineup. You could go all the way down. I'm not going to put... I mean, you talked about 1.5s, but I'm not going to do a lot of that. But this is an option. Or you can go all the way down to Michael Pittman and leave 2,500, 2,400 on the table. Don't hate it. But what we should do here is let's go up from AJ Green, since we have a little bit of salary, up to Christian Kirk, and see what that gets us. 7,600. So that still gets us Pittman.
I mean, you can still get AJ Green.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, exactly. So
that's, I mean, that 1.5 is going to be low owned.
Yeah. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of other people, and if Jonathan Taylor gets 3 touchdowns, this might work.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a little bit more of a balanced lineup here. All right, let's try to do like a 2-4. So let's leave Kyler in. Let's try to find one more Colt that we want to
Hines.
Get. All right, I love it. And
then I actually want to try something real quick. Throw in James Conner and Chase Edmonds.
Yes, love it. There it is. Look, 4 running backs, baby. 2,800. Doolin. I mean, you just go down the line here. You got Doolin, Doyle, Wesley. I mean, if you're doing multiple lineups, you do every single one of these like low-owned guys at the last spot. You just go down. This is cool, man. I love the 4 running back thing in this game. This is a perfect game for this, I feel like. I really do feel like it. Because both James Conner and Chase Edmonds can account for passing and receiving. And then you have Kyler Murray, who's also a running back, basically. It's nice. All right. Anything else to do with Jonathan Taylor Thomas here?
No.
Let's do a Colts heavy lineup. We
All
have
right,
to spend
so
more time on him.
Let's go Wentz. Well, yeah, that's fine. So what do you want to do? Maybe fade Kyler?
Let's fade Kyler in this one.
Okay, let's go Wentz, Pittman, and let's throw in Jack Doyle.
Yeah, or Mo Alley Cox, either one. They're both around the same price. 13.6K for 2 spots. Get anybody we want.
Do the handcuff. You should be able to do Chase and Connor.
Yep, look at that. Look at that. Without Kyler, that's perfect. Hey, I like this, man. I like it. All right, let's do a Kyler captain.
Okay, and then this, I want to do a 1-5 for this.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
And then so let's get the running back handcuff going. Carson Wentz. And then see
Taylor,
if we can get Pittman in there.
Naheem Hines and Pittman.
Yeah. No, it's not going to work.
Yeah, we're short. Let's get rid of Hines. Let's go with Pittman.
Yeah, and then throw in...
You want to do like a Mo Alley Cox or something?
Yeah, let's go Mo Alley.
Leaves us 3,700 kickers. No, not quite. Colts defense. Hey, that would be a perfect opportunity for Colts defense here.
Yeah, that's actually good because this will be pretty low on considering the negative correlation between Kyler and the Colts. But if Kyler has 2 rushing touchdowns, or a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns, and he throws a pick 6, it could get there.
Yeah, -1.5 for a pick 6, and you get 6 for the Colts defense is worth it.
Right.
All right, so let's do a little bit more balanced version of this. Let's go Kyler. Let's go Jonathan Taylor. This will be the core to start. Now let's pair Kyler with 2 of his pass catchers. So do you want to go AJ Green or you want to go Christian Kirk and Wesley or Rondell Moore?
Hold on. Let's do Kirk and AJ Green.
Okay.
And then can we throw in? No, we can't get Pittman. All right. So what do you want to go down to? Doyle or Mo Alley Cox from Indy?
I think we're gonna have to. That leaves us 3,300. So that's Chase Edmonds. So this is a 4-2.
Another thing you can do here, go from Doyle down to Mo Alley.
Okay. Mo Alley Cox.
And throw in the Cardinals defense.
Yep.
You can throw in Matt Prater.
Or you can throw in Matt Prater or Badgley. Yeah.
Actually, I like that with Badgley. You got Taylor, Cox, Prater. All right, that gives you a little bit of flexibility.
Yep. I'm not gonna. I'll do Colts defense just because I want to get all. So this is what I'm doing when I'm building. I'm just saving all these. Let me get the Cardinals defense. Let me save that. All right. So now that we have the most popular captains out of the way, let's build one more lineup with
Ertz.
Let's do it. Let's do Ertz. Let's just see what this gets us. I mean, you're basically at the captain spot. You're saving $5,000 to $6,000.
I still kind of want to do the Wentz fade. Can we?
Yes.
How do you feel about doing Kyler? Let's throw in the handcuff from the Colts, Taylor and Hines.
Okay. Taylor, Naheem Hines, 10K.
Kirk and Wesley, bro.
Oh, dude, this is a great ass lineup. All right, I'm gonna take a photo of this on my phone because this might be my bullet into like a milli maker. All right.
I mean, and if you don't like this, you can come off of Wesley. Go literally just rotate the positions again.
Yeah, Wesley. I mean, look, you can even go down to Mo Alley Cox and come up from Hines or something. Can you come up from Hines at all? 5,200. I mean, you can go to T.Y. Hilton, but not that we would want to do that. All right. Do you want to do anything else? What are your thoughts here?
I think we see that it's pretty flexible, man. You guys just got to find the game script that you like. Hit us up in the Discord. We'll be chopping it up there a little bit. I'll be focusing on kind of NBA updates because the way the slate's staggered. But if you get your questions in there, we'll do our best to kind of update as we get closer to lock.
So, guys, we're going to be coming out with a new show on Tuesday, more of a podcast hangout style. So we're going to be live doing that. So stay tuned for that. We'll have updates on that. You'll actually probably see on our page the thumbnail for that. Help us out with a subscribe, like this video, We're giving you guys some awesome free content, so help us out. We really appreciate that. Merry Christmas, guys. Ellie, score prediction and low-owned guy that you think can score.
27-13, Arizona. Low-owned guy that I think can score. I got to go with Antoine Wesley, man.
I think that's a good option. I'm going high, man. I'm going 42-31 Cardinals. I think this is a shootout. I hope it is, at least. And low-owned guy. Let me look at this here. Man. I mean, Mo Alley Cox is an option. I think Naheem Hines is an option. But I'm going to actually go with, if Rondale Moore plays, I'm going with Rondale Moore.
I like it.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. We will see you. When will we see you? We have a Sunday night game? We'll see you.
Yeah.
We'll try to fit that out. I'm going to be traveling on Sunday, but I'll be in Orlando doing something. But I'll try to get a show done from the hotel. We'll figure that out, Ellie. All right, guys. Take it easy. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas.